before we jump into this, I want to go over what I want to make sure we do, and I want to make sure you guys know the steps of using Compass, which is one way to do this, and I'll briefly. I don't even know all the other ways, but I'll identify them for you, and you can look at them on your own if you want after this or at any time. So we're going to look at the steps of Compass. We're going to schedule our next meeting, ideally, while we're all here, for those that are maybe most interested about this. So we can make sure the next date works for everybody, and then identify how often we want to do it, at least for the next one, because there's not too much to do until we take the next step. But the first step is Compass. And then this will include sort of delegating if somebody wants to try doing this on their own and having it prepared for the next meeting. Then we can work off of that, and I can sort of explain the next step, and somebody else could take it from there. But there will be a portion where we can share a significant amount of the load when we get to the drawing portion. And then I want to review the scans in general that we took. So Team A, Team B, Team C, Team D scans. But I'm just going to be showing you guys a small portion of those scans and how to enter them. And then we're going to have somebody else enter the rest of them, which isn't a terribly long task. So we can meet next week and keep this going. Because taking a day on the weekend, a couple hours would get the job done. And then sort of determine the objectives that we want the team that's going out on. Maybe is the 18th still happening, Stephanie?
Right now I only see 3 people, including myself, joining. And from what I understand, it sounds like that's not the best weekend for a lot of people. It overlaps COGS Sloan's Giving, and some people are taking holiday for Thanksgiving starting that weekend. So if I don't see additional people, I'm going to cancel that event and then have us focus in on December.
Okay. Well, if we either this, depending on how long this goes, determine the objectives for that next trip based on what we have collected and what we kind of can look at as an overview. Okay. And then there was this
very firm objectives that you need done during that session. I can make it work, basically.
Well, sorry, I missed it.
If you have objectives coming out of tonight that you need us to go get data for, in order to continue to be productive, I can definitely make it work, basically.
Okay, yeah. No, I think looking at the whole list here, it's pretty lofty goal. We might do that in the next one after we get like the raw data on the scans, but we'll see. So okay. Everyone that's here, we're here to work on this project together. I'm going to go through a little history here, and then we're just here to put the map together and and learn in the process. It's just a series of steps that are very repeatable, but there's other ways to do it. This is how I learned, and this is how I do my maps, and it works for the types of caves that I look at. There's other ways as well. So this slide is just from Howard Kalnitz's website. If you type in like Rockcastle County caves online, you'll find like the GCG Cartography website that Howard made. And so he did some of the legwork here, and I wasn't going to do a little PowerPoint because I didn't want to waste any time, but there is something to be said about like why we're doing this. So I'm going to rush through some of these and just highlight like, okay, there's this idea of data reduction, and that's what we're doing. So we're going to be taking the raw data and putting it in a program. If you look on this screen, you see that there's the station, the distance, the bearing, the vertical angle, left, right, up, down. And so we're taking that data, and in this case, this is the part that I don't understand. They mentioned converting into X, Y, and Z coordinates and stuff, but we're taking that data and we're putting it online. All this data is going to make the line plot of the map without human error. If you were at the class and you were there, Stephanie, you guys kind of put the pages together on the table if I remember correctly. I wasn't there.
Yeah, we assembled a few of the pages together and did a quick compare to the current map, and just the small segment that's on the current map versus the level of detail that we have on the new mapping. You can see a huge difference of how much more detail we've added to it.
So one way to make a final map, like why don't we just, and I guess this is a question for anyone and everyone, why don't we just take our scans that we wrote in Cave, literally tape them together into one sheet and then just scan that? I mean, is there any reason we shouldn't do that and just call that the map? We already did all
You
the sketch.
While you can do that, I think you might want to correct for any errors in angle or data that may have been, like, you would have to sketch very, very perfectly and very, very accurately as well in order
Yes.
for that to be the final map.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing we're worrying about with putting, one of the reasons we're putting this data on the computer is there's a lot of human error as we're in the cave drafting these maps. And if you put this into a program and spit it out in a line plot, that's going to make sure that's going to eliminate that human error part of the hand sketches. So, and that'll make more sense. But that's one reason. So a little history. If you're at the class, you remember we had a long conversation about the situation where if you have a high angle shot, and that's one of the concerns. So before they had computers, they converted the data by hand using trigonometry, sine, and cosine. You know, that's kind of beyond me, but they would do this crazy stuff to get their line plots before the computers, and then they would calculate all using XYZ data, which again is a little bit beyond me, but we're going to just put in a computer and spit out our line plot rather than having to do math. And I think it's just important to realize that. And in the past, they would get these line plots made, and then they would start tracing all the sketches sort of on those line plots with Mylar. So this is why they got computer programs now, and this is what we're doing. We're going to be taking that raw data and turning it into just a line plot first, and that's the first step of making the map. So there's walls is one you'll hear people use. I know Big Bat Cave in Kentucky, I think, is using walls. I have not used walls. I think it's good for long caves, and it can handle lots of data a bit easier than Compass maybe. But I honestly, I don't know. Just know that walls is another program you could use instead of what we're going to be kind of looking at today. Cervex also, I don't think I've seen it used, but it's another version of what we're going to be kind of looking at today. Therion is one that I know is still used for sure. And they use this with TopoDroid a lot, and it can pretty much spit out your cave map finalized based on the digital sketch. Because while you're in the cave and taking data too, your digital sketch is making sure you don't have any human error on that line plot. So Therion's a great one to pair with TopoDroid if you start looking into the electronic sketching with TopoDroid. You would ideally generate your map with Therion and save a lot of time and probably bust out maps way faster than the Compass Illustrator post-processing way that we're going to be doing Climax Cave. I don't think this is still used, but I don't know. This was for PDAs apparently. So there's stuff that's been out there for a while. And then we're going to be using Compass. So this is what we'll be sort of looking at today, doing a quick example on. It's going to spit out a line plot, and you can have it show walls and stuff like that, but we'll get into that. I put the link for downloading Compass, Compass for Windows. I have no idea on the Mac situation or Apple products. I'm asking a few people. I don't know if Stephanie or Aaron have heard of anything that any solution to that, but as far as what I know how to do and how we're going to be able to do Climax, at least with one method that we know will work, is with Windows Compass.
I am not the best with computers, so I use Windows myself, and that's about what I can handle.
Installation, project manager. So I'm going to close out of this. I'm going to post these slides to the group, but as you can, this is how we're just going through the steps that I'm going to start doing. And so everything I'm about to do has sort of a step-by-step step. I know I'm just blowing through this, but I'm just going back and forth. A step-by-step step on how to get to what we're doing today, for ideally one of us to put this data in after today. So we're ready for next time and to kind of go over the next step of this. So, and if you're here with your computer as well, and you got the program downloaded successfully, you know, I recommend just following along to kind of get that, I don't know, muscle memory, or just go through it yourself. And you know, you're not going to have, like, you could continue what we work on here on your own if you're one of the people that want to keep this going. But I'm going to go ahead and open Project Manager. So this is what it should look like on your desktop. And I'm going to double click it, and it's going to give me this screen. And I am going to, if I can remember correctly, let's see if I can, that'd be nice. Let's go to the start here. So you're going to click File, Create New Survey File. And it's going to say Name of First Survey, and you can always change this, but it's the name of the designation. So in this case, we did Team A, Team B, Team C, and Team D, and we might as well organize them like that. But normally, if you were with a group, we would have just had the A survey. But the only one I want to look at today, and as far as looking at scans today, especially depending on time, is the A survey. So we're going to call it the A survey because we started at A, and then we went B, then we went C, then we went D. And if we did if your team came back to you with notes and it was the GC12 survey, you know, that's what you would name this file. But when you click the button, it pulls this up, and this is where you name the cave. That's what's a little confusing. So file name, I'm going to call it Climax Cave Survey. And it tries to save everything sometimes in a weird file called wcomp32, and you can always change it to whatever you want. So I'm going to go to my desktop, and I know I have like a cave and mapping tools folder. So I'm just putting this in a folder that I know where it exists. You can just put it on your desktop for now and then organize it later. But you can see where my mouse is. It says wcomp32, and it just likes to put everything there. But I've got like a specific cave map project file, and I have Climax Cave there. So I'm going to save it there. But you can save it anywhere. So when you start a new survey, you put the survey designation. We're using A because we're going to start with the A team there in the A survey. And then when you go to make the file name, that's what you actually name as your cave survey project. So this is the actual file. So you click save, and then you get your file tree updated here. And if we were to click out of this and start new, like it's a new day, and you're going to click to open this, you're going to open it again, and nothing's going to be there. But you'll click File, Open Project or Data File, and you can find your survey. It does this little image too, if that helps you find it. If it's not here, you might have to go, you know, wherever you saved it in this case, I saved it in some file in my desktop. Oopsies. To open it again, which is several tabs in. There we go. So once you have that, you can double click it, or you can click edit, or you can click it and then click edit cave survey or file, and it's going to pull this page up. So we've now opened the file. We have our A survey. In the tab here, it says select survey. So we'll add a B survey, a C survey, and a D survey simply by clicking new survey. And I'm just going to make a B survey now just to show what a second one would look like. And it'll automatically start to try to have you do more to it. But, oh, and then we got to save it. Let's not do that right now. So we have our A survey. You can double click that to open it. Remember, we made the A survey earlier. And then you start filling in this information, Climax Cave. You can put comments. You can put the date of the survey. The date is on the scans that we took, and I'll pull those up here in just a second, but I'm just going to fill in, 10/14/23. You can fill in the participants of that survey, declination, correction, more correction, tape correction. I don't fill this stuff in. Aaron actually might have a better idea of how to explain what this is if he's still there. But if you had a compass, I think that had an issue, this could help solve it, but I don't touch this. When you get to this page and you're setting up the A survey details, again, you're just putting this so you have this information in the computer. You'll have the team there, you'll have the date there. You can put some comments like if they put, I don't know, it was an 11-hour trip. Anything else they put on the survey sheet that they provided you. And let's backtrack here and see if I can find. So this is what I'm going off right now in this case. We have the A team survey. They did the A survey. It was on 10/14/23, and we have their names. I'm not going to sit here and type in all their names right now. I'm just going to explain that information goes in here. And you can add all the other information they added to their title sheet as well, which is, a whole nother topic. Down below in the bottom left here, there's a button that says edit settings. And you need to change the LRUD orders every time for some reason. So in this case, it's left, right, up, down. And it is left, right, up, down because, let's see if we can, because that is the way that it is on their survey sheet. So if somebody had a survey sheet and it was like right, left, down, up, you could still format this to take that data. But almost every survey sheet you see out there is going to have left, right, up, down. There's an LRUD association, to station, from station. We can talk about that later, but we're going to have it as from station. And then you can enable backsites so that the system will double check all the backsites for you. So I always check that box. And you can click corrected backsites, which means if you had a team that had a device that was automatically correcting the backsites, which Team C actually had a small issue with, you could change the program to be ready to take that sort of data. In this case, the A team, in this example, it was 70.6 was their azimuth in degrees, and their backsite was 250.5. If they were using corrected backsites, this would say like 70.6. So it'd be 70.6 and then 70.6 again, because whatever instrument they were using was correcting for backsites. So most of the time, you keep that unchecked. Once that's done, you can start typing in data. And it's, so to recap, you know, we created the A survey, then we named the file, then we opened the file, and then we have our survey list with the A survey only on it, because that's the only one we've really worked on and created. And then we created the general information about the A survey that happened on 10/14 with the participants in it, and put a little information about the trip. And then we simply sort of prepped the data page to match the way that they took the data in the cave, which doesn't involve much except changing the LRUD order in this case. So when you get to edit station, we have A1 to A2. And all you're doing, and I got the notes in front of me, but I want to try to pull them up on here so you guys can see what I'm. So on your computer sent to you by the A team, somewhere was the first data sheet, and they had two of them, I think. They had this one and a slightly reduced one, which I think we might use. Let's see what they did there. Let's start with just this before they branched off. So we're just adding the data from the survey page into this program. A1 to A2 is 43.5 feet. The compass was 203.5. The back site was 22.5. So all I'm doing is copying this. A1 to A2, 203.5 to 22.5. If we wanted to go A1 to A7, I could just type in A7 here. But that's not what we're doing. We're just copying it. A1 to A2. Inclination was negative 14.8. Back sight of inclination was 14.5. And then left was 0. Right was 31.3 feet. Up was 4.7/11. We're going to put always the higher value there if they use slashes. And then down was 6.02 very specifically, but you'll see it's just going to round that to 6. You can change some of that rounding. We're going to leave it on for this example. A2 to A3 automatically populates. And I do want to just get these first 4 stations in. I don't want you guys to have to sit here and watch me type all this up, but I want to show you how it generates our line plot. 159.7, 339.5, 9.6, negative 9.4, 27. It looks like 19.7, 20.5, and 0.5. And then one more, we're going to do A3 to A4 so we can get a good line plot here. 218.2, 37.7. So no matter what, this has to be done some way. And it's good to get the data online. But there's a program called Caveware that can help with this process a little bit. I'm just going to guess at what that says in this case. So, and then you see it's going to populate A4 to A5, but we don't have an A4 to A5, but we do have A4 LRUDs that I want to capture. So I'm just going to say A4 to A4 and put the LRUDs in that one. And I didn't always do this when I was first getting into this because it was a little confusing. But this was what makes that work. Delete. So we have data. We have a description of the A survey. Data's in. We have front sites, back sites, and all that. You can click this button to validate back sites. And it found no major errors within 2 degrees. If I say, I want errors within 1 degree, it should say something, but I'm not sure. Okay. So if we change the limits, this is what an error will look like, and it'll tell you which ones are wrong. But we're going to go back to 2, just for this example. So that's it. You save. And if you don't save this, you lose your A survey. So I'm going to just do save file as. It's going to pull up where I saved this file. I'm just going to save over it. And so I'm saving that same Climax Cave file. I could have made another file, but then it would have been more confusing on which one to open later. It's not going to get corrupted or anything, but if you want to save a backup, you can. So we have created the A survey. We have given it some description so you know what it is in the system. And then we've added the raw data. At this point, we can actually view the line plot. Or we can go and create an additional survey. So we could start the B team survey, which I'm just going to do B in this case. And then we'll fill in the information again, fill in the date that it happened, fill in the survey team, edit the LRUDs, and then add that data in. But I don't want to do that right now. I want to show you, and then it's going to say me if I should save, but I'm not going to. Ooh, actually, I don't know how to eat. Oh, yeah. If you close that out after you remember to save, you can process and view your cave now, which is just our 4 stations. And then we get this line plot, which is not fun to zoom out on. There's a button down here that is described in the PowerPoint as well, where you can zoom. And there it is. There's our 4 stations, but we're missing quite a lot of stuff. We don't have a scale. We don't have anything. We literally just have our stations. You can do things like turn on the station identifiers there. So there's A1, A2, A3, A4. You can put in elevation there. And this is just different ways to view sort of what you got here. There's a way to put on walls as well that I don't know how to do. And I honestly don't really worry about doing unless I want to show somebody a snapshot of the cave in this format, because none of this is the actual map. We're just going to be taking this data and exporting it to Illustrator. Howard's PowerPoint does show a quick snapshot of what you can do with this line plot. So let me just. So he's got a little bit of a larger line plot. He explains it's a little confusing because you're so zoomed in, so you have to zoom out, and he shows you how to do that. He really zooms into it there. He shows what some of the other buttons do. You can make the background white, so you can just have a red line on there, and then you can fill in the walls and make it sort 3D. You can also switch from profile to plan. So I know that looks weird, but it's looking at it from a weird angle that we can't really adjust easily. We can a little bit. But you can look at both views here. But again, this doesn't really do much. If you put in a ton of data, you can look at your whole cave this way and start moving it around and changing angles and pitches and all that with the 3D stuff on. It's pretty basic. But all we wanted to do with this program really is get that data on there. So what we need to do as a group for the Climax Cave survey.dat file that everyone will have access to, mind you, we need to go in, edit that cave survey, and add the B, C, and D team data. And that's very simply the first step. And we do that by going through the scans. It's nice when you have the scans in front of you in paper when you do this, but that's not always going to happen. And if you do more cartography, if you can do it without having it in front of you, it's nice. So what we need to do is add A2 to AA, AA to AB, AB to AC, AD to AC to AD, and AD to AE, because the A team went off and went down another passage, which I want to try to show. I just don't know which one it is. All right, and there they go. They go, looks like AZ is what they called it on there, to AA, to AB, to AC. I think that's one, maybe that's two. So they went up a floor drop. So they climbed up this and started going down another passage. However, your survey team that's out there decides to name the stations is kind of how they name it, but you could always change it as a cartographer. I wouldn't do that. Because if they labeled it in the cave, then that's going to be really confusing. But just know you're kind of at the mercy of the stations they create. So with that being said, where are we? Teams. I'll share again, but I just want to bring the screen back to everybody for a second. Does anyone want to tackle just entering the other data?
Bro.
So I do have a question, Bo. This is Joanna.
Oh, yeah, and questions.
So we have a Mac, but we also have a PC. So Caleb has downloaded Compass, and we are trying to go along and type in the A survey data while you were doing it and plot
nice.
it. But we kind of ran into some weird things where it's not, for some reason, it's not showing up correctly. It's like we have all the data in there, but it's just showing up as a weird box. So I don't know if
Let's see.
Okay, also, how do we delete lines of survey after we've created them? Like I've got some 0 lines here just from hitting the enter button.
Let me, okay, so I do want, okay, so let me, I know how to answer that one first, that second question really easily. If you end up with, I don't know the best way to go back here. If you end up with, like, you're on this screen and you end up with a A4, A5, A6, A7.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, geez. You have to click the, in this case, I'm going to delete line 10 over here. I'm not clicking here. I'm not clicking here. I'm clicking on the green teal bar.
I don't think we can see that on the screen, or.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Do I have it?
Yeah,
Can
I
you
can see it now. For some reason,
Oh,
it
interesting. Okay, good to know too. You got to click over here. Can you see that 10?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So you don't click here, you don't click here, you don't highlight it all. You click the teal spot, and then you have to click this delete shot at cursor button with the X going through it.
Oh, okay.
And then you want to delete shot 10.
Got it.
So everything, I don't use most of these buttons.
Okay.
But if you hover over them, it'll tell you what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Howard's little document or PowerPoint that I will post goes through even that.
Awesome.
So it goes really step by step on how to do this. I don't even know. Can you delete? Yeah, you can't really even delete multiple quickly that I know of. So again, this is how Compass works. There's other ones. So that answers that question. And now you got a box that's showing up.
So yeah, let's maybe just take it like from there to generating the line plot in the viewer.
So,
because I think I was screwing around with data entry and missed that.
Right. Okay. So we have the A survey. We have data in there. I'm just going to leave these other ones, but we have A1 to A2, A2 to A3, A3 to A4. And then we save that. So you'll save this so you can click out of it. And there might be an easier way to just go straight into viewing it. Maybe you just click edit survey. Nope. I click out of it And this box was open all along that whole time.
Right.
So from here, you click your survey, and this survey, don't do what I just did there, but this survey's got an A, B, C, D in it by the time we're done with it. And really, we could call this first survey A, B, C, D. So there's lots of ways that we could organize this, but I'm getting a little off track there. When you're at this page, you'll click the full survey.dat file there, and you'll just click process and view cave.
Bo, for some reason, when we're like saving that, that box that you still have up that isn't popping up for us.
Oh, okay. So let's close out of that.
This?
No, cancel.
So it looks like this then, right?
Yeah. How do we get back to that?
So you'll click File, Open Project / Data File, and it's either going to pull it up right away and try to detect where it was,
okay,
or it's just going to bring you to your desktop or something, and you saved it somewhere, and it was probably in that wcomp32 random file that it creates to save all this in. But what you could alternatively do is open it and search for it. So if you remember what you called it, you can search for the Climax Cave survey, and it's the .dat file. And you'll see I got a .back, a .clp, a .dat, a .plt, which don't worry about any of that. The only one that really should, and once you pull it up once, it usually auto pulls up again. But the point is to save it. When you do initially save it, look at where you're saving it. You could always, when you do find it again, save it again. So I could save this project. Can I save the project as without making any changes? I think I had to go in and save it. I could always save the file again just on my desktop. But let's see, were you guys able to find it?
We don't have a .dat file. It's a .back, .clp, and then there's two more files. Is your .dat have a certain image? Oh, wait. What was that?
It does, but
I think it's this one.
Did you save it?
Yeah, it was saved.
So there's a cave plot and a cave data. So
you could try the PLT.
We don't have PLT. Click this one.
I've tried to open both of those.
Oh, not that one, the other one.
No,
well,
yeah.
It's okay.
I think, yeah, I'm curious if you guys run through it again, if you start fresh through it again, if it would do that. But yeah, I'm not sure, but I'm sure we can figure it out.
Yeah, it's probably user error on our part.
And you know, it's not the most friendly thing in the world, but once
does it help if we have them share their screen and maybe you can troubleshoot it through with them?
It's a different computer.
Oh, okay.
In theory, that would be good. Yeah, I'm using my Mac to call in.
That is good.
Yeah.
That's a power play.
Yeah.
So I will post, this stuff that walks through each step, and I will work with whoever wants to do it. I can work with you. I could just do it myself, but I think the point is that we do this together, and it really won't take long to put in what every team had about 4 or 5 stations mostly. And then what can be shared is that DAT file once we have it done. So whoever does it can send it to me. I can open it on my computer because you can just share a DAT file with me over email. At least I haven't had problems with that in the past. And then I can go through it and clean it up if we want to, if it needs to be cleaned up. But if somebody's sort of feeling up to it, I'm kind of throwing it out there if somebody wants to do it.
Is it the kind of thing, this is Joanna again, is it the kind of thing that multiple people could kind of like we did like A, B, C, and D separately in the cave? Is it the kind of thing that like if multiple people wanted to do it that we could kind of split it up in that same way and then you can combine them, or does that make it more complicated?
For this portion, we can't do that, but when
Okay.
we start drawing, we can. So like once we get this exported into Illustrator, which we're not doing today, I just wanted to focus on the first part here. Just all we're doing is copying the data. Then we'll export it into Illustrator the next time we meet. And then once we have that, we can all sort of work on the Illustrator document together. We just got to update each other when we work on it because it doesn't update real time. So we'll have a cloud file that we share together. And then if you get on and you do some work on it, you know, message the group that you're working on it so no one else is working at the same time as you. Otherwise, you guys are both going to save your own file. But we'll talk more about that. But once we get to the actual drafting of the map, that will be shareable. This first part is not.
And so, Joanna, what I would encourage is that if you have an interest in doing the data entry, having multiple copies of it and sending it to Bo for feedback probably isn't a problem, right? So, like, if you do one and Ryan does one,
yeah, we could have everybody try it as their own little homework assignment, and then send them to me, and I'll give feedback, and I can show the differences and what the differences mean. So you can kind of do your own thing, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna do it all in the A, B, C, D survey on one file, or you can do the A survey, B survey, D survey, C survey, D survey. And it will automatically, like, so when you have the B survey and we have to tie A to B, and can you guys see this still?
Yes.
You're just gonna put A4 to B1. And it'll do all that by itself as far as tying in the A survey to the B survey if you have separate surveys here. And the only reason
all of the point, sorry.
No, yeah.
All of the points we would put into that same section, so it wouldn't be having to do them like separately like you were saying, but you would just
you could do your whole cave on this one A survey, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
The only downsides to that is you're not like segmenting out your trips as far as like you're not recording that, oh, there was an 11-hour trip on 10/14 and it was these participants. Because at the end you will need to know everybody that was part of the cave thing, and you'll have that information here. And sometimes it's good to know how many trips went out to it and how many feet each trip got or something. So it's just you could organize this anyway, but for Climax Cave, we could literally put it all on just the A, or we could rename A to be like entire survey. And the entire survey could be on this one infinitely long data page.
Awesome. And side note, we figured it out what wasn't working.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
What was it?
I don't know because Caleb was doing it.
Well, good. I'm glad you guys figured out. And then Terry,
Yeah,
I
it was
saw
just a
that.
saving error. That's all.
Yeah, it was a saving error, he said.
Terry, I saw a message on the Facebook page that you wouldn't mind giving a try. So if anybody wants to, we need to do one of them. I'd love to see, you guys put it together and go through that process. I think that's where you're going to learn and then be comfortable doing it on your own on some small cave that you find in the future that you want to start doing. But you can text me questions, you can post it to the Facebook group, and what we'll do is just send me the finished copy via Facebook or email. And again, I'll post these instructions on how to do this process, and then we'll look at the differences between them, but we'll just pick one of them, and I'll clean it up if we need to, and then we'll do the next step, which is getting it on Illustrator. So with that line plot, we'll get it to the right scale. And in this case, we sketched 20 feet to the inch. So we'll take that raw data, get it to scale at 20 feet to an inch. And once it's to scale and we have the, you know, the LRUDs on there too, we will transfer it to Illustrator. And on Illustrator, we'll upload the actual scans and be tracing over them and matching them on the lines. And that part sounds intimidating, but all my first maps were just done with a mouse, and I just traced with a mouse. I got like a little drawing tablet now, which is helpful, but there's some, you know, big name cavers who still just use a mouse and produce really nice maps. The drawing thing just helps with some of the rocks sometimes. And so that's the first step here. And you know, I definitely didn't want this to be more than an hour. I think you guys know what you need to do. I know you're gonna have to, you know, look at this PowerPoint to go through those steps, but all we need to do is put all that raw data in Compass. So
Hey, Bo, am I able to share my screen real quick and make sure that I'm tying? So I did the A and B. I just want to make sure that I'm connecting them properly. If that makes sense.
Let's see. And all right, I got the notes in front of me too, so I can answer that quickly. So okay, you got the A team there.
Yeah. So I ended it with B1 right here where we have the LRUDs. And then I go into B. So these are connected.
So this is the part where you tied it in. On the other page, if you go to the so this was right, you did A4 to B1, and in the B team's notes it says A4 to B1, 19.8 feet, and so on. So it is on the B that you did another survey file. It is on the B survey that you did the A4 to B1 tie-in. But if you go back to your A survey, I want to explain to you when you do it, you don't need to do A4 to B1, but you can. You could do A4 to A4, but A4 to B1 actually does make more sense. You're not doing any special tying in there. All you're doing here is giving the A4 LRUDs. And so, yeah, that looks fine. What you'll see when you export it is station A4 in Illustrator. If you pull away the A4, under it's going to be a B1. So they'll be like stacked on top of each other.
So should I just change this 2 to A4 then?
It doesn't matter. It's helpful to see that it's tying into B1.
Okay.
So either way works fine. I did like how you had it with B1. And then this part's done right. And then the B survey is going to tie into something, but all you need to do is make sure you get the B4 LRUDs. Or the B, and I see you're still working on it.
Yep.
And if you go back to select survey, click on the A survey, and then click edit heading. All right, and then go to edit heading, and then go to edit settings there. Where it says LRUD association, this took me a while to figure out, but they explain it on the Compass website, but it's you just gotta go in and dig for some of the explanations. If you click it to to station, don't do that, but on from station, it's saying, okay, remember that from station or to station, click OK. And then go back to the survey, the edit survey, sorry. All right, your column says from and to. So when you put the LRUDs in, you're putting the LRUDs from the from one. So A1 LRUDs went in left, right, up, down because you had from marked. If you had 2 marked, it would be the A2 LRUDs that you would have been actually been entering there, if that makes sense. So that's all that setting is.
Okay, so for this top line row, if we were to have 2, it would say the A2s. But when we have
you would have to put like A1 to A1, put the A1 LRUDs, and then do A1 to A2.
Okay, so for how we set it up, it should be from.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And so nothing. I don't nothing too crazy here other than it's a really it's a weird program. I think it's the most simple of them all. I've seen great things done with them all. I can't speak to them all though. This is just the one I know how to do, and I've done plenty of maps on it to where I'm comfortable with it. And really, there's a lot of different settings there, but all you need to do is to know how to do this. We'll take this file and we'll put it into a little exporter program, and that'll help us get it to Illustrator. When you're done putting in all the data on your own, click that View and Process Cave button, and you can read the PowerPoint on how to put the 3D walls on, and you can start to really see a cave. So it's cool to just see it in the moment and share that. And you can also use that to share objectives. When you have a line plot like that, and you could send somebody in, even though the cave's not drafted. I don't have a good example here. Even though the cave's not drafted, you could send someone with that line plot on where to continue the survey if you have the stations labeled on it. So it's a way to process what you've been working on. But other than that, that's really it. Do you guys want to do the next step? When should we do the next step? When do we want to get back together? Any comments on that?
So the next time we got together, any of us that were planning on giving this a try and emailing it to you, you would have probably wanted time to look at that before.
Yeah, but I would just need a day,
Okay.
just an evening after the baby's asleep. So, I don't think it's going to take too terribly long to put it together. It just depends on schedules. I mean, we could do this in 2 weeks, and the next step is just going to be getting it to Illustrator, or we can meet for 30 minutes, next week and show how to get it to Illustrator and get it there, and then plan out that next meeting after the next one's going to be the longer one. And we'll refine how you guys can ask questions by sharing your screen, because that's super helpful. So, I'm learning here too. And when we're working on Illustrator together and we can just share our screen and go back and forth, that'll be really helpful, because what we could actually do is individually work on different sections of the cave at the same time and answer questions while people are doing it. So we could that'd be pretty cool. So anyway, Stephanie, what do you think?
I think it sounds good. I mean, I can get a Teams meeting set for you. Does Wednesday at 7 work for folks? So our next week would be just November 8th.
Yeah, we could do, if this is a good repeatable time, we could do the 8th. It'd be about 30 minutes. We could do the 1st.
Yeah, that works too. Whatever you guys want, I'll get the meeting set up.
Just on our end, Wednesday evenings don't always work for us.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
6 p.m. works a little bit better.
Okay.
But on the 8th, I'm working. But if it works for everybody else, that's fine.
Yeah, 6 p.m. is fine too for me in general. Does anybody have any objections on 6 o'clock starting times in general that are interested in sticking around for the ride? All right. Well, we'll send an invite out. In the meantime, if you're interested in giving this a go and you want to get some real practice in and contribute to the project, send over that file, and once we have what we need, we'll do the next step. And then I will post the PowerPoint presentation, and I'll post my cell phone number and email, and then you can also ask questions in the group if you have any. But yeah, the first part, it's pretty quick to get all that in. When they do the next survey, we'll add the data to that project file, and that project file is what will be the data, the online version of this cave, the data online. So if anything happened to the notes, it's okay. It's not the end of the world.
I have one last question because I was just thinking about it. So when we're making our line plot, and let's say we have a passage that shoots off the main, so then we get like, AA, AB, should we make a new survey or should we keep it in the A's?
Yeah, I would do it by, and what's even confusing me is how we did, we did 4 separate surveys on one day, but it was really one survey. So I would do it by, I would do each survey by each day of survey. So like, I would do this all in retrospect under, the 10, 14, 23 survey. Just because for me that makes sense, but I wouldn't go and make an AA survey on, I would not do what you mentioned doing.
Okay, gotcha.
And I think it makes sense because it'll reduce the number of weird tie-ins you have. So I think by keeping it all in the same date or file, it would basically be continuing branches. But because the tie-ins are there, it knows where that is.
If you want it, if this was some massive cave, that's just going to be crazy, I would consider doing it. And maybe these are some of the shortcomings of Compass versus the walls or something. I don't know. But for the way that we're going to be doing it, organizing it by day makes sense. If you do a new survey for AA, then you won't get the AAs lost in all the A's. So you won't be digging through maybe 23 shots of A's, for example, if that were to happen for the AAs. So it's however you think would be beneficial, and however, when you go to try it and learn the mistakes on your own, whatever you decide is the better way to do it in retrospect.
Yep, makes sense to me.
So yeah, no crazy, PowerPoint presentation here or anything. Just that's how we do the first part, and that's how we're going to do it for Climax. And we appreciate the help. And then once we get to Illustrator, we can all kind of work on it at the same time, in an interesting way. It'll be a little bit cumbersome because it's not like a cloud platform, but it'll work. So yeah, I didn't want this to be more than an hour. If anyone has any questions, shoot it off on the Facebook thing, and I think we've covered everything we need to cover for one day. Oh, and there's chat. Cool. That's it. I don't know. I don't have anything else. If you guys have any questions, let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Much
guys.
appreciated.
Send over if you finish, send it over. I'll give you feedback, and we'll post a date to the group, and if we need to change it, we'll change it.
Sounds good.
Cool. Thanks,
Awesome.
y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.